I heard the voice message he sent by mistake and discovered that the man my sister loved considered her too pathetic to live. I'm sitting in the women's police station watching my sister give her statement. Clara is destroyed, but there's something different in her eyes today, a strength I hadn't seen in months. He said I was lucky to have him, she tells the officer, that no other man would love me like he did. I clench my fists. I want to punch the wall, scream, do something. But I can't. Today is Clara's day to speak, and I can only listen. When did you realize you needed to press charges? Asks the officer. Clara takes her phone with hands that still tremble slightly. When I received this message by mistake. She plays the audio. The voice of Bruno, the man who almost became my brother-in-law, echoes through the room. Sis, you can't imagine how pathetic she's become, cries about everything, begs for attention. It's disgusting. Honestly, I'm thinking of ending it all. She's not even good for fun anymore. The silence that follows is heavy as lead. The officer looks at Clara with a mixture of compassion and professional anger. And what did you do after hearing this? Clara smiles. It's a cold, calculated smile, a smile I'd never seen on my sweet, gentle sister's face. I started planning. 2 hours later, we leave the station. The complaint has been filed, but that's just the beginning. Clara, I say as we walk to the car, why didn't you ever tell me about all of this? She stops in the middle of the sidewalk and looks at me. Because you wouldn't have believed me. Nobody would have believed me. Bruno was too perfect, wasn't he? It was true. Bruno Mendez, successful lawyer, charming, educated, the kind of man any family would love to have as a son-in-law. Besides, Clara continues, I had to do this alone. I had to prove I wasn't the weak woman he said I was. And did you succeed? I succeeded at much more than that. I completely destroyed him. As we drive home, Clara tells me everything. How it all began. How she lost herself, and how a simple voice message changed everything. But mainly she tells me about the most meticulous revenge I've ever witnessed. And it all started 6 months ago when she still believed in fairy tales. It was like a dream, Clara says as we drink coffee in the kitchen of the house where we grew up. Do you remember when he showed up at the company party? I remember perfectly. Bruno had arrived like a whirlwind, all smiles and charm, conquering not only Clara but our entire family in one night. He was everything I'd ever dreamed of in a man. Intelligent, successful, handsome. And by some miracle, he was interested in me. You were always incredible, Clara. It wasn't a miracle. I didn't see myself that way, and Bruno knew that from day one. She stirs the sugar in her coffee with slow movements, lost in memory. 2 weeks after the first date, he suggested we move in together. He said he couldn't stay away from me, that we were soulmates. And you agreed? Of course I agreed. I was in love, felt special. For the first time in my life, someone wanted me that much. Clara stops stirring her coffee and looks directly at me. You know what the first warning sign was? What? On moving day, he looked at my books and said, Clara, darling, don't you think these books make the atmosphere too heavy? It wasn't a question, it was a disguised suggestion. And you put the books away. I put the books away, then came the plants. You don't have time to take care of them properly anyway. Then the clothes. This style doesn't suit you. Then the friends. They don't understand what we have. I feel a tightness in my chest. How didn't I notice what was happening? But everything was done with so much love, Clara continues. He said he wanted what was best for me, that he knew what I needed. And I believed him. When did he propose? 3 months later. It was beautiful, romantic, public. At the most expensive restaurant in the city, with diamond ring on his knees, everyone applauding. She shows the still visible mark on her finger where the ring was. That night, I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. But the next day, when we woke up together as fiancés, he looked at me and said, Now you really belong to me. The way he said it wasn't romantic. It was possessive. Clara gets up and goes to the window, but I ignored it. Ignored all the signs because I was so desperate to be loved that I confused control with care. Clara, it was also my fault, brother. I let it happen. I gave him my life because I thought that's what love meant. It wasn't your fault. Maybe not. But it was my choice to continue. Day after day, choice after choice, I disappeared. She comes back to the table but doesn't sit down. You know what the worst part was? For a long time, I was grateful. Grateful that he saved me from my mediocre life. And when did he start becoming violent? Clara's face hardens. Ah, brother, that's a story for the next coffee. The first time he hit me, I didn't even realize it was violence, Clara says, pouring more coffee. I swallow hard. This part of the story is still difficult to hear. It was during an argument about the wedding. I wanted to invite cousin Lydia. Remember her? The artist. I remember. Bruno said she didn't fit the level of our celebration. I insisted. Said it was my family and she would come. Clara unconsciously touches the left side of her face. He slapped me. Not hard, but firm, and then he looked at me with so much disgust that I felt dirty. Clara. But you know what was worse? He didn't apologize. Instead, he said, "See? This is what happens when you disrespect me." As if it was my fault. She sits again, but her hands don't stop trembling. And I believed it. I thought, wow, I really disrespected him. What a terrible girlfriend I am. Did it get worse after that? Much worse. Once he realized I wouldn't react, things escalated quickly. Clara tells me about the months that followed, the constant criticism of her appearance, her work, her family, the pushes that were not malicious, the screaming that was just stress relief. He convinced me I was crazy, that nobody else would put up with me, that I should be grateful he loved me despite my flaws. And you isolated yourself from everyone. Completely. I stopped going out with friends. They just talk bad about me, he said. I stopped visiting you all. Your family hates me. I stopped working. You're too stressed. You need to take care of yourself. Why didn't you ask for help? Clara laughs, but there's no humor in the sound. Ask for help with what? I was engaged to the perfect man, remember? Everyone envied us. How could I explain that the Prince Charming was a monster? She takes her phone and plays the voice message again. Until I heard this, I still had hope. I still thought that if I were a better girlfriend, if I could please him more, maybe he would love you again. Exactly. But this message showed me the brutal truth. He had never loved me. I was just a toy to him. What did you do when you heard it? First, I cried for 2 hours. Then I was angry. Then, Clara smiles that cold smile again. Then I started researching. Researching what? How to destroy someone's life without leaving traces. I feel a chill. My gentle sister had transformed into something I didn't recognize. And I discovered that Bruno had much more to hide than I imagined. The lowest point wasn't when he first hit me, Clara says, playing with her phone. It was when I started hitting myself. What do you mean? Self-harm. When he criticized me, when he said I was useless, I would hit myself in the face. I thought I deserved it. I need to breathe deeply to continue listening. Once he came home and I was cooking dinner. I burned the beans. A simple thing, it happens. Clara stops playing with her phone and looks at me. He exploded, screamed for 20 minutes about how incompetent, stupid, useless I was. Then he left to cool his head and left me alone. And then, I beat myself until I bled. I thought he was right, that I really was all those things. Her words are like punches to my stomach. When he came back and saw my injured face, you know what he said? I can't answer. At least you're learning. And he hugged me like he was the most loving man in the world. Clara shows some photos on her phone. They're selfies of her, but what I see isn't my sister. It's a broken woman with empty eyes and bruises on her face. I documented everything. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me knew I'd need it someday. Clara, why I never told you? She interrupts me. Because I wasn't me anymore. The Clara you knew had died. In her place was a pathetic woman who got beaten by her boyfriend and still thought she deserved it. She puts away her phone and continues. The worst thing was that he had phases. Weeks of violence, then a week being the prince. He'd bring me flowers, take me to dinner, say he loved me. Classic cycle of abuse. Exactly. And I always believed that this time would be different, that he had changed, that I had learned to be a better girlfriend. Clara gets up and starts pacing around the kitchen. 2 weeks before hearing the message, we had the worst fight. I was organizing the closet and found a nightgown I had received as a gift years before. I put it on for him. She stops walking. Bruno looked at me and said, "Take that off. You look ridiculous. Fat, old, pathetic. How can you think that looks good on you?" My God. I took off the nightgown immediately and apologized. I apologized for trying to please my own fiancée. Clara sits again, but now there are tears in her eyes. That night he used me. It wasn't love, it was usage. And afterward he slept as if nothing had happened. And you? I stayed awake planning my suicide. Her words fall into the kitchen like bombs. Really? Really, I was planning to take all the medicine from the cabinet. I thought it would be better for everyone. Clara. But then, the next day, the message came. She takes her phone again, but doesn't play the audio. And for the first time in months, I felt something other than despair. What did you feel? Anger, pure, crystalline, liberating anger. Clara smiles, and this time there's something genuine in the smile. That's when I realized I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted to kill the version of me that he had created. And that's what you did? That's what I did. I killed the pathetic Clara and let the Clara who would destroy him be born. You know what the first thing I did after hearing the message was? Clara asks, opening the laptop on the kitchen table. No. I Googled his name. The screen shows several open tabs, professional profiles, social networks, newspaper articles. Bruno Mendez was really successful, junior partner at a respected firm, impeccable academic record, traditional family. So what? So men like that have a lot to lose. And I had just discovered I had nothing left to lose. Clara clicks on a folder named Project Bruno. I started documenting everything systematically, every aggression, every humiliation, every manipulation. But more than that, I started investigating his past. How so? Old social networks, ex-girlfriends, college colleagues. I wanted to know if I was the first or just another one on the list. What she shows me makes me sick. Photos of at least 5 ex-girlfriends, all with the same pattern, beautiful and intelligent women who seemed diminished next to him. This is Amanda, Clara points to a photo. They dated for 2 years. Look at the difference between the photos from the beginning and end of their relationship. It's shocking. In the first photos, Amanda seems confident, smiling. In the last ones, she looks like an erased version of herself. Were you able to contact her? Her and 3 others. All went through the same thing as me. Clara opens another file. They're screenshots of conversations. Juliana told me that Bruno made her weigh herself every day and criticized every gram she gained. Patricia said he controlled even the underwear she wore. And they were willing to help you? At first, no. They were scared, ashamed. But when they saw I had concrete evidence and a plan. What kind of plan? Clara smiles that cold smile, a plan to ensure Bruno would never do this to anyone again. She shows me a detailed spreadsheet, his professional contacts, important clients, firm colleagues, family. My goal wasn't just to break up with him, it was to completely destroy the perfect image he had built. How? Patience, brother, experience, documentation, and perfect timing. Clara closes the laptop and looks at me seriously. Bruno thought he was dealing with the pathetic woman he had created, but he forgot something important. What? That before being his girlfriend, I had a degree in investigative journalism, and I knew exactly how to destroy a reputation. And he suspected nothing? Nothing. I continued playing the submissive little girlfriend he expected, while gathering evidence and building my support network. For how long? 3 months. 3 months pretending to be the same broken woman while meticulously planning his downfall. Clara stretches and sighs. Want to know the most ironic part? Which one? During those 3 months, Bruno was gentler with me. He thought he had completely broken me and could relax. But you were. I was rebuilding myself, silently, carefully, piece by piece. And when did you decide to attack? When he made the fatal mistake. What mistake? Clara smiles, but this time there's something predatory in the smile. He asked me to sign a prenup that would leave me with nothing if we separated. And you signed it? I signed it in front of him, and that same night I sent the first email. The first email was to the senior partner of his firm, Clara explains, opening a new folder on the laptop. What did you write? Nothing directly. I just attached some photos of me with bruises and a simple message. I believe you should know what kind of man represents your company. And it worked? Better than expected. The next day, Bruno came home furious. He had been called for a conversation with the partner. Clara shows me a sequence of emails sent over 2 weeks. Then it was his mother's turn, his sister, close friends. Each received specific evidence, carefully selected. How did you know what to send to whom? 3 months of research, remember? I knew exactly who was who in his life. The evidence is impressive. Photos, audios, conversation screenshots, even videos she had secretly recorded. To his mother, I sent an audio where he talked about women as disposable objects. To his sister, photos of my injuries with dates. And they believed? At first, no. Bruno was very convincing, had built a perfect image for years. Clara stops typing and looks at me. But then something happened that even I didn't expect. What? Amanda, one of the exes I had contacted, posted a public testimony on social media. She shows me the post. It's long, detailed, devastating. Amanda tells everything, the manipulation, the abuse, the control. Within 24 hours, 3 other exes came forward. Suddenly it wasn't his word against mine. It was his word against 5 different women. How did Bruno react? Total panic. He started calling me desperately, sometimes crying, sometimes threatening. Clara plays some audios of the calls. The difference between the controlling Bruno and the desperate Bruno is striking. He begged me to stop this madness. He said we were engaged, that this would destroy our future. And you? I listened in silence and hung up. Each desperate call was another confirmation that it was working. And professionally. That was the best part. His firm opened an internal investigation. They discovered he had harassed at least 2 interns. Clara shows me official documents. When it came out in the media that Bruno Mendez, the exemplary lawyer, was actually an abuser, clients started cancelling contracts. Was he fired? Worse, he was invited to withdraw from the firm to preserve the company's reputation. And the family. His mother showed up at my door, crying, asking for forgiveness, saying she knew nothing. Did you believe her? Not completely, but I saw she was genuinely shocked. Apparently Bruno was very good at hiding who he really was. Clara closes another folder and opens another one. But you know what was most gratifying? What? His sister sought me out. Renata? Herself. She came to apologize and give me this. Clara shows me a USB drive. Recordings she had made secretly, conversations where Bruno openly admitted he liked to break strong women. Wow. With those recordings, I finally had enough evidence for what I really wanted. Which was? Criminal justice. The complaint was filed on a Tuesday, Clara tells me, showing the official documents. Assault, threats, defamation, psychological violence, all documented, witnessed, incontestable. How did Bruno react when he found out? Initially, he tried to convince me it was all a misunderstanding. He called me crying, saying he loved me, that he would change. Clara plays one of the audios. Clara, darling, please, you know I love you. These other women are lying, taking advantage of the situation. You really know me. And then? When he saw it wasn't working, he completely changed. He became the real monster. The next audio is terrifying. You crazy bitch. Nobody will believe you. I'll hire the best lawyers and prove you're a deranged obsessive. But then he made the final mistake. What mistake? He showed up here at home, drunk, screaming in the street that he was going to teach me a lesson. Clara shows me the security camera video, Bruno kicking the gate, breaking my car window, shouting threats. The neighbors called the police. He was arrested red-handed. And the trial? It didn't even need to go to trial. With all the evidence, all the witnesses, and this incident, his lawyers advised him to make a deal. Clara shows me the final judgment. 2 years in prison, converted to community service and mandatory psychological counseling, permanent restraining order, and damages. How much? $50,000. And he paid? Had to sell the apartment, the car, liquidated his savings. Clara closes the documents and looks at me. But you know what was the best part of it all? What? On the last day of the proceedings, he looked me in the eyes and said, "You destroyed me." And I replied, "No, Bruno, you destroyed yourself. I just showed everyone who you really always were." How did you feel in that moment? Free. For the first time in years, completely free. And him today? He lost everything. Job, reputation, family, friends. He's living with his mother, working as a clerk in a store. Don't you feel sorry? Clara thinks for a moment. No. He had years to change, to seek help, to stop hurting people. Instead, he kept looking for new victims. And the other girls? All recovered. Amanda went back to therapy. Patricia finished college that she had dropped out because of him. And you? Clara smiles, but this time it's a genuine, light smile. Me? I discovered I was much stronger than I thought. 6 months later, I'm in the audience of a packed auditorium. Clara is on stage, speaking to more than 200 women about domestic violence and recovery. Violence didn't start with a punch, she says into the microphone. It started with a compliment disguised as criticism. You look prettier with your hair down, seemed caring, but it was control. The audience is in absolute silence. For months, I thought I was weak for allowing it. Today, I know there's no allowing abuse. There's being systematically broken by someone you trusted. A woman in the front row raises her hand. How did you find the strength to fight back? A voice message, Clara responds, smiling. He sent me a message by mistake where he called me pathetic, and I realized I'd rather die fighting than live being humiliated. After the lecture, several women approach, some crying, others thanking, all wanting to tell their stories. Miss Clara, a young woman about 20, approaches. My boyfriend does everything you described. How do I get out? First, document everything. Second, seek professional help. Third, remember you deserve to be loved, not controlled. Clara hands her a card with support contacts. Later in the car, I ask, how does it feel being recognized like this? Useful, she responds without hesitation. For years I thought I was good for nothing. Today I help women save themselves. And Bruno? What about him? You never had contact again? Never again, and I intend to keep it that way. Clara looks out the window and then turns back to face me. You know what I learned from all this? What? That revenge isn't about destroying the other person. It's about rebuilding yourself. And did you succeed? I succeeded at much more than that. I became the woman I should have always been. We arrive at her house, the house she bought with the settlement money. Small, but completely hers. Thank you for telling me everything, I say. Thank you for listening without judging. Clara hugs me tight. Bro, can I ask you something? Sure. If you ever see a woman being diminished by a man, even subtly, say something. Sometimes all we need is one person to validate that we're not crazy. I promise. That night, driving home, I think about my sister's transformation. From silent victim to public advocate. From broken woman to symbol of resistance. And I think about Bruno, alone, destroyed by the consequences of his own actions. Sometimes justice takes time, but when it comes, it's absolute. Her name is Clara, and she's no longer a victim. She's a survivor who became a warrior.